The ACU football team begins its second season in Wildcat Stadium against the Angelo State Rams. I'm Max Preston.
And I'm Grant Boone. We'll preview that game against our old Lone Star Conference rivals and look back at the big night last Saturday on the Brazos River against Baylor. It's the Adam Dorrel Show right now. Welcome to another season of ACU football and the Adam Dorrel Show from the JMC Network studios on the ACU campus. I'm Grant Boone alongside senior journalism major Max Preston and the head football coach of the ACU Wildcats, Adam Dorrel. The Wildcats opened the 2018 season last Saturday night in Waco against the Baylor Bears of the Big 12 Conference. Coach, the final score notwithstanding, give me a sense of the overall experience of playing in McLean Stadium.
Yeah, it was very exciting, Grant. I was very proud of our team. I thought our guys played at a really, really high level. Don't feel like we were starstruck. I felt like we went down there and did a lot of really, really good things. Only turned the football over once, only had 5 penalties, and just really executed our game plan. So obviously we wanted to win, but you know, there's a lot of growth that we're going to take from that game, and I'm really confident it's going to help us down the road.
Coach, you open your your stadium for the second season of existence. What type of atmosphere do you hope to get from your crowd tonight, and what energy do you want from your players?
Well, we're really excited. I've been trying to get our guys all week to talk to students in their class about coming out for the game tonight, and our marketing people are doing a great job promoting the game. So notwithstanding the weather, it looks like it's going to be a great night, and I think hopefully that's going to pass. But we're expecting a very electric atmosphere, and I want our guys to pick up where we left off last week. I thought they were very focused from the start of the game. I thought we played at a high level, and that's the expectation of every game. But really, that home opener, man, you really want to set the tempo and the mood for the entire year for the student body, for your season ticket holders, for your alumni base, your fans, to this is our expectation level. This is how we're going to play football all year, and so that's something we've talked about all week.
Well, we will preview that game against the Angelo State Rams tonight a little bit later on in the show. But when we come back, a look back at last Saturday night's game at Baylor. Stay with us. It's the Adam Dorrel Show. Welcome back to the Adam Dorrel Show. Last Saturday night on the banks of the Brazos River in Waco, ACU opened its 97th season of football at Baylor. Here with the highlights, Madison Kreitz.
The highly anticipated meeting of the Wildcats and Baylor Bears opened up with Baylor scoring a field goal on their second drive of the game. The Bears continued to grow their lead during the first quarter with a 25-yard touchdown pass from senior quarterback Jalen McClendon to wide receiver Jalen Hurd, giving them a 10-point lead. But it didn't stop there. On the Wildcats' next drive, the Bears were able to intercept a pass from redshirt sophomore quarterback Luke Anthony and continue on for again another touchdown. But less than a minute later, the Wildcats responded with their first scoring play of the game. Wide receiver DJ Fuller catches an impressive 54-yard pass from quarterback Anthony, ending the first quarter with a score of 17-7. The second quarter started off with Baylor looking to expand their now 10-point lead with a 3-yard touchdown run by Jamichael Hasty. The Wildcats still continued to put up a fight, but Anthony was sacked on 3rd and goal, leading to an ACU field goal. After the field goal, the Bears quickly responded with a 54-yard touchdown run, again by Hasty. The Wildcats then took this opportunity to respond with a 75-yard run by junior Billy Mccreary for a touchdown, making the score 31-17. Unfortunately, the Wildcats gave up another Baylor touchdown before closing out the first half with a field goal by Oscar Hernandez, making it 38-20 going into halftime. The second half opened up with the Bears scoring another touchdown to grow their lead to 45-20. While things may have started looking grim for the Wildcats, sophomore Coy Richardson comes in for an incredible interception that would give the Wildcats back the ball on their own 30-yard line. With momentum from the first interception of the season, ACU was able to drive for another touchdown pass from Anthony to junior Chase Coakley to bring the score up 45-27. But the Bears didn't let the ACU victory last long, as they quickly responded with a field goal, closing out the third quarter. Baylor would then score one more touchdown in the fourth quarter, making the final score 55-27.
All right, Madison, thank you. 55-27 the final score. Coach, in the days leading up to the game, you said you wanted your team to weather the storm. You knew they were going to make plays at Baylor. How did you think that your team did in that respect?
Yeah, for the most part, I thought they did really well. Even the big plays that we gave up early, a couple of the scores, our guys didn't panic on the sideline. I thought we regrouped and got refocused. So for the most part, I thought we did that. Obviously, scoring some points early, I think, really helped the defense too, kind of get situated to say, hey, like, we're going to be able to hang in there in this game. So for the most part, I thought it was really good.
So, Coach, with Luke Anthony in the offense, you're averaging 450 yards a game. Without him, 300 yards a game. So, is it Luke, or is there just something else to it in your offense that's?
Well, I think a lot of it's him. I think he's got a very high football IQ. To be really honest with you, when he's the quarterback, our playbook gets a lot bigger and a lot more open. And I also think he does a really good job of leadership, spreading the football around. I think our guys come to work each and every day knowing, hey, man, if we got a quarterback like we have, I'm going to have a chance to catch the football. I think the other aspect of that is it's just really helped is that our offensive line continues to improve. And, for what we do on an offense, you got to be able to run the football. It sets up so much of what we do with our play action passing. And, but I think there's a combination of factors, but he certainly has a big hand in it.
Well, you actually ran for more yards than any ACU team has in the last 2 years, 220 yards. That was a big part of the offensive production, 466 yards total. Speaking of quarterbacks, this was the debut for Samaje Davis, the Midland Lead product. You used him in some different ways. You lined him up as a wide receiver. You had him run the Wildcat. You even did the razzle-dazzle with a double pass with him and Luke to Tracy James. Are we going to see Samaje in some different roles this year?
Yeah, I was going to say get used to it because you're going to see it the entire year. I mean, philosophically, Josh does such a great job of
Josh Lamberson.
Yeah, Coach Lamberson, our offensive coordinator, of getting our best people on the field. We're not a program that says, well, this guy's the backup, so he's not going to play. We try to be very creative and get our best 11 out on the field. We like to mix and match who we got. But Samaje is a very dynamic young man. He can play quarterback. He could play running back if we needed him to. He can play the slot receiver. And so with what Coach is doing, moving those guys around, he's not always the quarterback, but he's not always, running routes. I think it just makes us, very dynamic. But proud of Samaje. You talk about earning the right to play. He's earned the right to play
through his camp.
Absolutely, through his preparation in spring football. Very proud of him and what he does in the classroom, off the field, and just he's continued to grow his football IQ. But he's, we're very fortunate. Luke, you talk to Luke and you talk to him. Luke's just a sophomore, but it seems like you're talking to a guy who's 30 years old.
Yeah.
And Samaje's the same way. He's a redshirt freshman, and he seems like you're dealing with the senior from just their maturity and the way they handle stuff. So very proud of him for that.
So Samaje was, one of several players that made their debuts the other night. I want to talk about Billy Mccreary, your transfer running back from Cal. He had a really good night. I mean, he only got 6 carries, but he made the most of it with 141 yards and that 75-yard touchdown. So can you see him splitting more time maybe with Tracy James this year?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those deals, first game of the season, we go in, you're cautiously optimistic on what you think is going to work and what's not going to work. And certainly Billy, proved that he deserved to be out there and continue to get more playing time. But, the thing that we've challenged ourselves on as coaches is, you've got him, you've got Tracy, and you've got Tyrese Wright, Robert McKnight. And so we've done some different stuff this week to get all 3 of them on the field at some time, potentially doing some different stuff with Robert, split out. But, man, Billy can just run. He's got that element of speed, and that old adage, you can't coach speed.
Coach, you look at the game from your defense's perspective. Obviously 55 points, the yardage they piled up. As you look at that, you have to consider this is a Big 12 opponent. Yeah. They've got some weapons they didn't have last year. Guys like Jalen Hurd, who transferred from Tennessee. You're not going to see many 6'4", 220-pound wide receivers lining up this year. Based on what you saw, given the opponent, how would you rate your team's defense?
Well, I thought that, number one, I thought they played really hard. I thought they played team defense. The biggest thing is they just missed tackles, and that's what they were disappointed in. But we had guys in position to make plays, and they just couldn't do it. And, not to take anything away from their guys, like you said, they're very athletic. I think it's very well documented. The Big 12 right now is known for offense, spread offenses. I was very impressed with Baylor's, both of their quarterbacks that they played.
Me too, yeah.
Thought they played really well. And they're a much improved football team from last year, but their scheme is just to get guys in space, which a lot of the Big 12 is, and they did that, and they did it really well.
So, Coach, before the game, you talked about watching other teams earlier that day or earlier in the week, struggling with, clock management, 2-minute drills. Your team, though, looked in midseason form with that 2-minute drill before halftime, capped off by the field goal by Oscar Hernandez.
Yeah.
Was that something you really emphasized in practice this last week?
We did. It's just really been fall camp. Like as a coach, I sat down in the off season, the summer, and you just start formulating a plan. And for us as a coaching staff and myself as a head coach, the thing that I've really thought, I just feel like we're going to be in a lot of close games this year. And so we have spent more time in the 2-minute segment and overtime segments than I ever have as a head coach, just to try to get us ready. So when it comes to fruition like that and you see it happen and it gets executed like it got executed, I mean, our guys made a concerted effort to get out of bounds after they caught the football. If you look at the last play where Luke steps up and scrambles, he knew he could not take a sack there. He understood that. And we had a timeout, but it didn't matter. It's just like we did not want to get caught in bounds. And so to see our guys execute like that, it's really encouraging.
By the way, part of that 2-minute drill, DJ Fuller, after getting dinged up, came back in, caught a 15-yard pass, got you to midfield.
Yep.
You eventually got that field goal. DJ went for over 100 yards in just one half, and hopefully he'll be fine for this week and the rest of the season with that leg injury. I don't want to overlook what Oscar Hernandez did. He'd never kicked in a college football game. He goes 5 for 5, 2 field goals and 3 extra points. That's not easy, is it?
No, it's not. And, the thing that I'm very proud of Oscar with is, Oscar would be the first to tell you he didn't have a great spring. And so coming out of spring football, he was probably third on the depth chart. And so to see him not be discouraged and to keep working this summer and to stay committed to what his process of what he's trying to do to be the starting kicker, and look at what he did in fall. He started as the third kicker when we came into fall camp. We kept having kicking competitions, and he just kept winning, and he was the most consistent. And so it's hard. That environment is very hard for anybody, but I think it's really, really hard for a kicker, and just very proud of him. And, Oscar's a fine young man. He does everything right. And so, you like to think, and what we tell our guys is good things happen to good people. And when you have good process and you're a good human being and you're a good teammate, I really believe good things will happen.
Hometown boy makes good.
Absolutely.
The Abilene High kid with a great opening night as a college kicker. All right, so that's the wrap on the game against Baylor. A little bit later on, we will have a preview of tonight's game against Angelo State. But as we go to break, take a look at some scores from around the Southland Conference and note Nicholls' upset victory over Kansas up in Lawrence. This is the Adam Dorrel Show. Stay with us. We're back on the Adam Dorrel Show. We'll preview the game against Angelo State tonight in just a minute. But first, with a look at other sports around ACU, here's Max.
Thanks, Grant. We'll start with big news from the soccer team. Rachel Johnson was named the Southland Goalie of the Week. She posted 2 shutout victories against UTEP and UTRGV, then gave up only 1 goal in a tough 1-0 loss to Texas Tech. Johnson and her team also welcomed New Mexico State to Elmer Gray Stadium Sunday for a non-conference matchup. The Wildcats came out firing in the first half with 3 goals from Christina Arteaga, Dylan Owens, and Ashley Stamps. The game was delayed shortly after the second half started due to a weather delay. This allowed for the Aggies to flip momentum and net 2 goals in the second half. However, the Wildcats still held on to get the victory 3-2. ACU was scheduled to face Northern Alabama Friday evening. Over to volleyball now. The team competed in the Texas State Creeds and Crests Classic last weekend, where they faced UTSA, James Madison, and of course the hosts, Texas State. The Wildcats played its lone match Friday evening against UTSA and lost 3-1. They then came back on Saturday and also dropped matches to James Madison and Texas State 3-1 for a disappointing 0-3 weekend. Standout players over the 3 games included J.C. Smith, who totaled 33 kills, and Kendall Bossy, who passed for 118 assists. The team was scheduled to next play in the Tulsa Invitational against Tulsa and Oral Roberts this weekend. We go to the running trail now, as cross country had its first meet, the Namadu Classic, last Saturday in Abilene. It was a successful start to the season as Kevin Kipkoski took first overall in the men's race, as did Carnley Graham in the women's race. The women took second overall out of 5 teams, while the men finished in third. Both teams won't have another meet until next Friday when they go to Lubbock for the Texas Tech Open. Now, as you may know, Alan Ward was hired as the new athletic director this summer. Ward came over from Murray State to take the new job for the Wildcats. Madison Kreitz had the chance to sit and talk with the new hire. Madison?
Thanks, Max. We're here with Alan Ward, the ACU's new athletic director. First off, congratulations on your new position.
Thank you.
So can you tell us about your time at Murray State and what was your position there and what your experience was at Murray State?
Madison, I had the opportunity for 13 years to serve as athletic director at Murray State. It was a wonderful place to be. I had a great staff, great group of coaches, and a lot of tradition, a lot of history there. During my time there, we won 39 championships, participated in 29 in-state tournaments, and it's a program that most people know for their basketball because we had won 41 championships in basketball and been in the in-state tournament 16 times. So it's just a really special place that the people in the Kentucky and the Midwest region and hopefully nationally know about. But so I served as 13 years there before I took this job.
Awesome. So what motivated you to come and accept the job at ACU? Was it any players, any coaches? What motivated you to accept?
Well, honestly, for me, I always wanted to make sure that I'm someplace where I felt like the Lord was leading me to be, and that was very important for Abilene Christian. I felt like that's why I got the Murray job when I did 13 years ago from my time at North Texas. And so after I had my first opportunity to visit with Dr. Schubert and get to know some of the people, I thought it would be a really good fit. I thought the challenge was something that intrigued me about taking a young Division I program and building it into something special, capitalizing on what's already been done here. And so when I knocked on the door, it's like the good Lord kicked it down for me, and the rest was history, and I'm really excited to be here.
That's great. So how's the transition been from coming from Murray State to Abilene and to ACU? Have you been feeling welcomed here?
Well, the great thing is pretty much everybody I've met, I feel like I've known them my whole life. So from that standpoint, from the development staff to the administrative staff to the student government to the SLT group, it's been really wonderful. They've been so welcoming me to Abilene, but also my family who was in last week when we were looking at houses. So felt very natural from the very beginning. Felt like it was a great fit, and but it's been very hectic, very busy, a lot to learn, a lot of people get to know and meet, but I'm really excited about what this place has to offer. I really believe that Division I athletics can become something very special at Abilene Christian, and can play a role in telling this institution's mission, which is what we're all about here. And then I just hope that in a few years that we're looking back and saying, man, this is really special.
Do you have any goals that you have set for this specific year as your first year as AD?
Learn names, get to know people, get to know the student athletes, and do a lot of evaluation. I've told my staff, no matter where I've been, whether it was at Murray or at North Texas, that you know a lot more a year after you've been there. And so the first year is really, really important. So just to get to know people and know how things work, put some strategies together to make sure that we're positioning ourselves well for the long term. Make sure that we're using people and putting them in positions of strength so that we're using their abilities and their skills the right way, and then provide as much support as I can possibly provide to the coaches and to the student athletes, and hopefully help along with the spiritual formation as well.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And Max, we're going to send it back to you.
Thanks, Madison. Well, that does it for this week's Sportscast. Until next week, I'm Max Preston.
As we welcome you back to the Adam Dorrel Show, take a look at today's schedule around the Southland Conference. It includes a Bayou battle with LSU, number 11 in the nation, hosting Southeastern Louisiana. All right. We turn our attention to tonight's game, the home opener, year 2 of Wildcat Stadium. ACU welcomes in our old rivals from the Lone Star Conference, the Angelo State Rams. This will be the 51st meeting between these two teams. We've got some great history, some great moments. My man Jim Reese, my partner in the broadcast booth, threw for 564 yards against Angelo back in 1976. Still an ACU record. Coach, you don't have a history with Angelo State per se, but you sure have a history with Will Wagner, their head coach. You were fellow assistant coaches at Northwest Missouri State. Some of their other coaches are guys from Maryville, Missouri as well. As he is in his 8th season at Angelo State, for a lot of our viewers, fans at ACU, we may not know a lot about Will. What can you tell us about him, especially in terms of what we can expect?
Yeah, Will's a good human being, very good football coach, good dad, good father. And a lot of the staff he has are guys that I've had a chance to work with. So they're really good guys. They're good coaches. I've tried to get our program, our kids to understand that. Those guys are going to come in here, ready to play football. He's going to bring an element of discipline to his football program, and he's not going to sacrifice character. He's going to recruit the right type of kids, and they've certainly done that. So it's going to be a tough game for us. I look forward to competing against him. He's a guy I've always had a lot of respect for in the profession.
So, Coach, for your offense, the Rams lost their star linebacker in Justin Jackson last year, but they returned Grant Aschenbach, who had 99 tackles last year, and Marcus Jones from the defensive line, who had 10.5 sacks. Are those guys that you're looking at, or is there something else that your offense needs to focus on to succeed this weekend?
Well, I think it starts with number 43, the defensive lineman. Obviously, I think he's as good as a defensive lineman we'll see this year. You've got to be able to manage him in the run and the pass game, and so we certainly have a plan for that. The thing that they do defensively that I think makes them good is they're very simplistic. They get lined up. They don't believe in giving up big plays. You can move and do all this and try to play with up-tempo. It's not going to affect them because they just play a lot of base defense and do little things off that. So, the challenge for us is to play with good organization, know exactly where we're supposed to be going, and then go execute in the game. But, I think it starts with the defensive end. I think their middle linebacker is really good. And then I think they have 2 really good safeties. So what they do defensively, you have to be built good up the middle, kind of like a baseball team, and I certainly think they are.
When you look at your defense against their offense, they really found something middle of last year, and they began to pile up points by the dozen. And a returning quarterback for them at Angelo State. What do you see with them offensively?
Well, they're very up-tempo. They're trying to snap the football about every 15 seconds. And so, number one, it really challenges your guys to be disciplined on the sideline. Don't get caught in substitution packages. And then, honestly, it's just like, again, what I just said. You have to be really strategic on it's more of what you're not trying to do. Don't try to do too much, because if you're going to get caught moving around, guys aren't lined up, they're not ready to play football. Their quarterback is very good at understanding when you're not ready or when you left somebody uncovered, and then he just simply turns and throws the football to them. So, that's the big thing. We got to be ready for their tempo. We've got to get hands on receivers, try to collision guys a little bit, break up the timing, and then quite honestly, you got to get a pass rush.
It's going to be weird coaching against Will Wagner looking across the sideline at
No, I've always enjoyed coaching against people like that I like. I mean, I just – we were with each other so long. We've had so many good memories together, and we've both been very fortunate in our careers, I think, to work with really good people.
Should be an awful lot of fun tonight. It is the home opener, ACU and Angelo State. You can catch the pregame show on radio at 5:30 p.m. Jim Reese and I will have the broadcast with Zach Carlisle on the sidelines. For Coach Dorrel and Max Preston, I'm Grant Boone. Thanks for watching the Adam Dorrel Show.